Coming up on this episode of Latinas, we'll talk about weed and wellness, a Latina-led travel festival, and so much more. Latinas starts now. Welcome to Latinas, the show that's all about nosotras, created by nosotras. And I'm Tina Beth Pina. Today, I'm in the Boogie Down Bronx at the New York Botanical Garden, just in time for their annual orchid show. And we'll have more on that later in the show. But first, did you know that April is National Cannabis Awareness Month? Some CBD-derived products are known to have a positive impact on health. And correspondent Isabel Ortiz paid a visit to the Other Side Dispensary, a space where wellness and community and cannabis come together.
I had got injured when I was overseas. I was faced with a transition in my life. I thought I was going to do 20 years in the military. I was at 10, and I started to then get involved with opioids and throughout my whole recovery, and it just wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. And then cannabis came to the forefront as a consumer first, and then I realized what a great business model it would be.
For Eliza, the Other Side Dispensary in Jersey City is more than a business. It's a mission. When New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy legalized recreational marijuana in February of 2021, she saw the opportunity to provide relief and wellness.
I always say now I sell weed and wellness, and I really believe that they are one and the same. You know, cannabis is a wellness tool. It comes from Mother Earth, and it is something that has helped people in so many different aspects. When folks come in and they have serious ailments, and we get them a product that helps them, and then they come back and say, thank you so much, and now I trust you, and you guys are the spot that I'm gonna continue to come back to, that makes this all worth it.
Dispensaries aren't just storefronts. They're safeguards, ensuring people know exactly what they're consuming and keeping products safe, tested, and regulated.
All products have to go through the testing facility, which then at the back of all of your products tells you what the terpene percentages, what the THC percentages, a bunch of scientific stuff about cannabinoids. But it's really important because when we talk about the legacy market or getting anything from the street, sometimes folks are worried about what could be in it, right? So being able to have that quality is why dispensaries are really important.
But not all cannabis products are created equal. From pre-rolls to edibles and everything in between, the Other Side Dispensary caters to everyone from seasoned consumers to first-timers.
So a lot of people go into eating edibles first because they can just wrap their mind around consuming something by mouth rather than smoking. But then there's also products that are related to pills. For me, I'm not a fan of the products that we then, convert into pill form, because I feel like it continues to perpetuate this idea that pills related to pharma are better for people, and that's not true.
The cannabis industry may seem like a new opportunity, but Eliza breaks down the tough challenges faced by communities impacted by the war on drugs.
If you're part of certain groups, right, disadvantaged groups or maybe social equity, there's this prioritization. But because the bureaucratic red tape is so convoluted, the timeline that it takes for people to get up and operational is so extensive that when folks that have money just jump in, even at the later part of the race, they still jump to the front.
Eliza isn't stopping at a dispensary. She's creating a space for community, a consumption lounge where people can gather and consume safely.
So think of the model of like a cigar bar or a hookah lounge. It's really along the lines of that, but it could be so much more. It could be an event space. It could be a space to commune with other folks that are also consumers. There's so many options, but the main point is that you can consume cannabis in that space without any restrictions.
For Latinas, I'm Isabel Ortiz.
New York City has long been a sanctuary city, with laws aiming to protect undocumented immigrants. But mass deportations nationwide have led to fear and uncertainty in immigrant communities. To see how sanctuary city laws hold up in this current environment, we're about to hear from a CUNY immigration researcher and a local policymaker on what students and New Yorkers need to know.
Anxieties are high, Fear is high among students. There's a lot of panic.
Rosa Angela Caloso is in high demand these days as an immigrant rights educator.
One of the things that happened after the presidential elections in November was that we had an influx of emails of what are the resources available? How can we better support our students? And not just students, but also educators.
Caloso is a project researcher for CUNY I, or Initiative on Immigration Education. It's a research program that also educates educators on immigration policies.
Even after the inauguration, there was also another spike of we need information sessions, we want to know more information.
And that's not even just at CUNY.
For the spring semester, we had 11 out-of-state schools contact us to come in and host information sessions.
It's no surprise she's busy, given the Trump administration's mass deportation campaign and the huge immigrant population in New York and at CUNY.
It's roughly estimated that 1 in 4 students is directly impacted by immigration in the CUNY system, and then 1 in 3 come from mixed status families.
Can you elaborate on what that means?
Yeah, so mixed status means that within the family, there are people that have varying immigration status. This includes whether they hold some kind of status, whether it is undocumented, DACA, TPS, which is temporary protected status, asylee, refugee, and so forth. And then there's also US born.
CUNY itself has given estimates of its undocumented student population at roughly 5,000, or possibly 6,000. Though Caloso says, under federal law, students aren't required to disclose their status.
We have undocumented and immigration student success centers across CUNY. We're currently sitting in one right now.
The CUNY immigrant population mirrors the city, where in 2023, more than 35% of New Yorkers were counted as foreign-born. The city is considered a sanctuary city, meaning immigrants are protected regardless of status.
Sanctuary city policies have been part of New York City's history and legacy for over 30 years.
City Council member Alexa Aviles chairs the Immigration Committee on the council. She says the city's sanctuary city laws clear barriers between immigrants and city services such as hospitals, police, and education.
There are a collection of policies that essentially say that New York City resources will be dedicated to New York City purposes, and that we do not care about immigration status, that we are here for all New Yorkers and we will provide the service the best we can, and you should not feel afraid to engage with city workers.
All this got thrown into doubt in January when Mayor Eric Adams' administration sent a memo to city agencies on how to respond to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. It instructed city workers to allow ICE entry into city sites if, quote, you reasonably feel threatened or fear for your safety. But Aviles says sanctuary laws remain in play.
We are there correcting the record to say, no, actually the protocol is very clear because the law is very clear. These things cannot be done.
I do know that ICE has been in many different predominantly immigrant communities. For example, I was born and raised in Corona, Queens, and Corona was one of the first areas that was impacted by ICE. And that was Jackson Heights. We also saw in Bushwick. One of the things that I've even seen within my community, my neighborhoods, is families preparing themselves in the case that they get deported. So parents have been filing power of attorneys in the case that they get deported to make sure that their child is taken care of. And students have been also panicking because it's what does this mean for me to not have said family member around me? Or what does this mean for me if I'm undocumented or I have a temporary status or whatever that may look like for them. So it has been a lot of panic in not being able to focus, or even the fear of stepping out of their homes to even commute to school.
But Aviles and Caloso say undocumented people still have certain legal rights at CUNY or elsewhere.
Constitutionally speaking, and also under New York State law and DOE protection, so Department of Education protection laws, ICE can't come into the schooling space. The only time that ICE can enter a schooling space, that is if they have a warrant signed by a federal judge with the name of the said person that they're going in for. Other than that, they can't enter education spaces, specifically CUNY and public schools.
This is Shannon Ayala for Latinos.
Did you know that Latino communities are disproportionately impacted by climate change? Whether it's higher asthma rates, greater food insecurity, or rising pollution levels, protecting nuestros barrios from harmful environmental factors is what we're talking about in today's Caliente Caliente.
When people talk about climate action, that type of work is really powerful and really meaningful and should not be just cooped with saving the polar bears and the ice caps, you know, versus no, it's the air that we're breathing right now, our access to healthy foods, and even thinking long term for things that are sustainable.
We gotta like make the connection with what climate change as a global problem is versus what environmental justice and environmental issues that we're burdened with today are.
I didn't learn about the term environmental justice until I got to college. And one, the fact that I didn't learn about it like got me mad because I was like, wait, what do you mean an issue that's affecting me personally? I had to go like out of state for school to learn about something happening in my community.
Even me, I grew up in my Nana's house in Co-op City, and she lives right across from a wastewater treatment facility, and I have asthma, and I never knew what could have caused my asthma. I just thought that that was something that, you know, happens to people. But it really took me going to college to hear like the term like environmental justice and to learn about all the polluting infrastructure that I grew up around.
If it's so many things at once, obviously it's not a coincidence, it's by design. And why is it that like people that didn't have anything to do with the problem are the ones like directly suffering?
Like when we think about that and really think about that in the context of our lives and our hometowns and even, you know, our home countries, that is a really relevant thing. Like I'm Puerto Rican, and we're seeing the devastation that's happening in PR on a constant basis.
And traditionally and culturally, we are raised, and like our culture is to like take care of the land, eat from the land, repurpose things. So it's like, we're not gonna be the causers of destroying our planet.
For me, that's like what really got me like excited or like motivated in this work, just like the justice aspect of the climate justice, because it's not just save the trees, clean the water, the earth, but like, why are we in this mess when we shouldn't be?
My favorite part about this is that we have found different ways to do this work, because we're talking about problems that are decades, like century problems, but we're talking with people that can't pay their rent today, that can't feed their kids today. The way I think that we motivate and move is by listening to people and taking a lead from people and supporting their leadership.
So when we do things like community planning for electric charging station, because we want to reduce the emissions that come from all these trucks, where do you want the charging stations to be? Who do you know that would be interested in this? So really engaging people with like those tangible things and saying it's your future, like you have the power to create it.
And that's why people come out. They come out because they're like, no, I'm actually leading this work. I'm actually being heard. My experiences are designing how my neighborhood could look, you know.
And like coalition building. The more we have these connections and the more that we're able to show what is possible, I think that that's really, really powerful.
We really have to out-organize the people who are harming us right now. And they're organizing like crazy, so we gotta organize like crazy.
Every April, we celebrate Earth Month. And one thing we're always reminded to do at this time of year is to recycle. So did you know that you can repurpose the leftovers of your favorite candles? Our lifestyle expert, Rose Cruz, is about to show us how to do just that.
Many of us Latinas like to burn candles, whether it's for personal purposes or setting a cozy atmosphere in our home. But when you have wax left over, what do you do with it? You can actually repurpose it as a candle wax warmer. Let me show you how. So when I'm home, I detach the candle wax leftovers from any candle jar I have. I cut it into cubes or small size pieces. Then I place that extra candle wax into recyclable containers like Ziploc bags or Tupperware for when I'm ready to use them. You can actually reuse those pieces to either create a new candle altogether or place several of those pieces and repurpose your candle wax for your candle wax warmers. But what do you do if the repurposed candle wax you now have on the warmer doesn't smell any good? Well, you can revive it by adding a few drops of your favorite essential oil, like lavender, rosemary, mint, gardenia, or lemon. Whatever you really like will work well. And one last tip, you can actually repurpose the candle jars or holders that the candles originally came in, especially if it has a beautiful color or shape. For example, I add a small candle in the middle of the jar and reuse them to light up my rooms for my family gatherings. It creates such a beautiful atmosphere. And as you can see, there is more than one way you can do your part for the environment during Earth Month and all year long. And if you need more ideas for recycling, you can just ask Rose.
Sustainable fashion is on the rise, and what we wear and how we wear it is important for the well-being of our planet and all of its inhabitants. And now, designers oftentimes are recycling the fabrics they use, and some are even calling it trashion. Let's take a look.
This is another poncho, and this was another blanket that wasn't being used at home. I'm Maka. I'm a fashion designer. Right now I'm studying arts and fashion, and I realized that our industry is one of the most polluting. So I took the decision to start learning more about how to apply it to daily life and reduce the waste that we left on our environment. I learned about the Japanese tradition that is called boro. This tradition says that the piece of clothes that you own, you have to own it for your entire life, or even to give it as a heritage to your kids. They really value that piece of cloth and they keep it. So I think that's the real sustainability. So these are the things that I feel bad because are going to be disposed, that are going to go directly to the trash because people don't know what they have in their hands, and it can be saved as our treasures. In general, I try to keep it as sustainable as possible and try to take care of my clothes. That's an important thing, always with the intention to be with this piece for a long time. Since I have been living here in New York, have been a little bit more tricky. It's a temptation to try to buy at really affordable prices, to have whatever you want. But the motivational part, it's one of the biggest challenges. Because, sometimes you want to check what's in trend. And you see these Chinese platforms that have whatever you imagine for crazy prices, and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do anything because I'm going to compete with this. My advice is to investigate, to learn as much as possible about the topic and all the things that are involved in the things that you're currently consuming. And then just start experimenting, play with it, and find your own style. That's super important because sometimes we bought because of the things that we saw in social media. So this is the kind of things that are really meaningful for me, to think about the history behind each piece. As a personal goal is to try to teach as much people as possible about how to enjoy fashion in a healthy way. For them and for the environment. I think it's super important. And the dream in general, it's that we learn how to handle our wardrobes and being more conscious about our consumption habits. That's super important. Sometimes we're bored and we're like, okay, we're going to go to any place and just buy, and we don't realize all the problems that we are causing.
For the past 2 years, I've had the pleasure of taking part in the Latino Travel Fest, which is a celebration of culture, connection, and adventure. It was founded by fierce Dominicana Vanessa Fondor Adams, and our correspondent, Elena Romero, got to sit down with her to see where her deep passion for travel comes from and learn why she is today's Latina on the rise.
From first-time travelers to seasoned globetrotters, Vanessa Fondor Adams is opening the doors for Latinos everywhere to embrace adventure.
My whole goal is not only that you travel, but when you travel, how can you inspire the next generation? Because each one teaches one.
Once she was bit by the travel bug, Fondor Adams launched Latino World Travelers to fill a void.
When I started traveling, I joined many different groups in Facebook, and I couldn't really feel represented. I didn't grow up in this country, and I wanted to be able to speak Spanish, English, Spanglish, and I started looking for Latino groups and in the travel industry, and I didn't see any. So I decided to make a difference and create it myself.
Her platform has grown to over 13,000 followers, all united by their love of travel.
They want to learn, they want to gain confidence on how to travel the world, because a lot of us could be a little scared. Our families are the first ones to push back on us going out there and venturing. My own mother told me many times, "Why are you going there? It's so dangerous." And I just try to demystify what sometimes the way media portrays these countries.
On her journeys, she indirectly found her husband and converted her mom into a frequent traveler. A New York City teacher, Fondor Adams has also taken her students across the globe.
I made it my mission to take my students on trips, and I went to places like China, Morocco, Spain, England, Ireland, France, Italy, and I just wanted them to also have the access to experience the world, because I think we as Latinos and as people of color need to have those experiences.
Have you taken a tally as to how many places you've visited in countries?
Yes, of course. So I've been to 33 countries in all 7 continents, which is already something amazing, and also to 42 states.
In addition to World Latino Travelers, Fondor Adams hosts an annual Latino Travel Fest, a 2-day event taking place this June, where Latino travelers, influencers, and industry professionals come together to network, learn, and celebrate diversity in travel.
It's a 2 days of full learning, educating yourself on how to travel better, cheaper, how to travel more confidently. How do we now launch a blog, launch a podcast, write a memoir, or even become a content creator or a travel journalist? No matter what the naysayers are gonna say, anything is possible. And that's also the kind of inspiration that I wanna give to my community. Like, literally, anything is possible. You're scared, do it scared. It doesn't matter. Do it scared. And keep pushing yourself, keep pushing the boundaries, because you never know what's on the other side.
For Latinas, I'm Elena Romero.
It's that time of year when the Bronx hosts one of the most breathtaking botanical events, the annual Orchid Show at the New York Botanical Garden. Let's see what it's all about. This year's Orchid Show isn't just any floral showcase. The New York Botanical Garden is transporting visitors straight to the heart of Mexico with the Orchid Show, Mexican Modernism, a stunning celebration of architecture, design, and of course, thousands of blooming orchids.
What is always really important to us is bringing and highlighting the plant education to our visitors. And what the Orchid Show does is doing that in a really fun way. So Mexico is bringing that color, that pop of color. It's highlighting the diversity of orchids of Mexico that people might not realize exist. And also, it's bringing that vibrancy that people need during these really cold months that we really love.
Does Mexico hold a special place in your heart?
It does. I am Mexican American, so this one was a really special one for me. It was really fun to work on with my colleagues. I just had an extraordinary time working on this.
This year's show is a living, breathing tribute to the legendary Mexican architect Luis Barragan against a lush backdrop of tropical greenery.
This house behind me was inspired by Casa Giraldi. There is also a space in this exhibit that was inspired by El Pedregal. So there's different rock formations in that house that we've taken liberties with, highlighting where there's orchid moments that people can engage with as well. In our palm dome, we created the Lover's Fountain, which is so beautiful. The water just creates a really wonderful sound as visitors are walking through, while also adding that layered geometry, that pop of color, and engaging you immediately as you walk through the space.
And as if that's not enough, the New York Botanical Garden is bringing La Parranda to the Boogie Down Bronx after hours with Orchid Nights, a series of evening events where the garden transforms into a flower-filled party with DJs spinning everything from cumbia to reggaeton.
Orchid Nights are so much fun. I am obsessed with them. You cannot stand still. As soon as you hear the music, your hips want to start moving. You should go online, nybg.org, and buy your tickets now.
So whether you're an orchid fanatic, an architecture lover, or just looking for a unique Bronx experience, the Orchid Show Mexican Modernism is an absolute must-see.
And that's our show for today. For more information on what you just saw, check out our website at tv.cuny.edu and follow our social media profiles. We even have a CUNY TV app now where you can watch us anytime, anywhere, on the go. And you know how we love sharing our Latino stories with you. So definitely check it out and download it. And please make sure you tune in next month where we'll learn about the Latino Film Market Festival, talk mental health, and so much more. ¡Uepa! Hasta la próxima. Bye-bye.